welcome everybody. This is our first episode of Sheepdog Mindset. We created this episode. I mean, you got to bear with us. We're new at this, but we felt that this is something that we needed to start doing to help people out there get more knowledge and more ability to protect themselves or know how, especially in a church or private school setting. That's where a lot of our focal point is on this stuff. Real quick, this is David Riggle. I'm Nick Guadarrama. David, why don't you introduce yourself?
Okay, I'm David Riggle. Been a police officer, about 20 years. Got into the church security ideology about 12 years ago. We started a company called Sheepdog Defense Group, which has evolved into a much larger group now. We've had a lot of hiccups, but we've learned a whole lot during that time, and we're excited to bring this forum to you guys to kind of show you the ins and outs. We don't like to teach a company line or check boxes. We like to look at the reality and teach people what reality really looks like. So we're going to be talking about a lot of different topics on this podcast. Today we just want to introduce ourselves and give a little bit background about who we are. So.
Good, and I'm Nick Guadarrama, also law enforcement, prior military law enforcement, going on almost 14, 15 years now, the military before that, so quite a bit of experience in that field also. David owns Sheepdog Defense Group, which is the main church security group that was started, 14, how many years ago now?
About 12 years.
12 years now we've been going, and I started Sheepdog Pack as a way to help kind of supplement some of the stuff that we can or can't do with the security company, just based on certain laws and rules that they have. But together, I think we make a pretty good team when it comes to our goal, our mission, what we drive towards, what we strive for, in reference to helping others, helping people, and helping churches and our flocks protect themselves. I think we all know that in the world we live in today, people are in those incidents that happen. If they don't know what to do, that's when things can be very chaotic. They can, a lot of people can get hurt, injured, or even killed. And I think our goal, our main focus has always been to give the power back to those innocent people that are in those incidents, in order to give them the power to protect themselves. I really think that what's going on, especially now in today's day and age, we have to teach others to protect themselves. I mean,
we see awareness is a big problem. A lot of people are not aware that there is a problem. One of the common things that we hear from people that we visit that have had these incidents, these mass killing type incidents that happened, is I never thought it could have happened here. And it does happen all the time somewhere, so it could very likely happen here. The other part of awareness is what to do about it. We both have a tactical police background. That training doesn't come easy. It's not something that everybody out there knows how to do. Even police officers a lot don't understand some of the tactics that you need to employ in this type of situation. And it was 12 years ago, sitting at a seminar, that I made the decision that we needed to start teaching people how to defend themselves, like Nick just said, empower the people to defend themselves and not just call 911 and wait. So that's where the idea came up. Sandy Hook was actually the reason we got into churches. My partner at the time, we started this company based on the military and the wives of the military and those guys over there fighting for our freedoms, and saying, hey, watch my six while I'm over here fighting for your freedom. Can you please take care of my family? And we thought, yes, absolutely. We're going to teach the families how to defend themselves and not just call 911 and wait. But after Sandy Hook, being Christian men with kids that were about that age, we decided we just felt a calling to move into church protection. And we've become experts in the field, and we've been extremely, extremely blessed in doing this. Every time we fall down, we stand up and we're 3 feet taller than we were before. So we're going to continue to bring those experiences to you. The awareness part of it, though, is step number one, is just understanding that there's a problem. And step number two is, what are we going to do about that problem? And not just, I'm going to go to the gun range and I'm going to put a B-27 target and I'm going to try to shoot the X-ring out of it. That's not near enough. That's what most people will do. There's a whole lot more. We're going to talk about psychology of shootings. We're going to talk about equipment. We're going to talk about response plans. We're going to talk about insurance. We're going to talk about everything that you might have any questions about. So
Yeah, that's really what this is. This is again, this is just the beginning. This is just episode one for us to try to get this information out there and spread the word to others and to know the ins and outs of it. Because in reality, there's what we've seen more and more of is yes, churches are finally starting to recognize that they are able to have certain people designated as protectors in their church, but maybe there are some ways that could be better on how to do that. And especially when it comes to what a lot of people don't understand is the liability behind it. I mean,
right.
the liability is huge and falls on the church, and especially with the lack of training or maybe the lack of certain understanding of what they can and can't do without a license, a security license, or even with a security license. And so that's where we're really kind of directing some of this stuff. And like again, this is just the intro. This is just the beginning. And real quick, Dave, what is probably when it comes to the church, and what is probably the number one thing that you have seen people make mistakes on when it comes to starting a security or safety team, they call it in churches?
I think the biggest problem that we see is they don't know what the problem is that they're addressing, so they don't know what kind of fuel to throw at it. Their churches are typical to have a committee to form a committee to name the committee that's going to find this problem. And they're very slow moving. The understanding is a huge part of it, and that's what this podcast is all about, is to help people to understand what the problem is and to help you find what the solution is. I talked to a lot of these pastors. I've already talked to two this morning, who are kind of in dire straits of what I don't understand what we need to be doing. And one of the things that I tell them right off the bat is you as a pastor have a calling to lead people to Jesus and understand that there was a man who walked this earth and he did miracles and he was sinless and yet he paid the ultimate price. And that's hard for people to understand. But then I have to turn around and tell you that the opposite exists as well, that Satan is out there and he is still fighting, and that we can't ignore that problem and expect it to go away. We have to address that problem. We have to do it as Christians and in faith, but we also have to do it physically. That we cannot pray a bubble of protection around the church that will stop nuclear weapons from penetrating the church. It's something we actually have to train for. And that's something that's very hard for a lot of people to understand. They don't like the human aspect of somebody trying to hurt them. We'll accept a tornado, we'll accept a fire, but we're not going to accept violence because that's a human being thing. So I think that's probably the hardest thing to deal with, is to address people in figuring out what the problem is and understanding that it is a huge problem and it's this giant, but there is a solution. So
Yeah, 100% agree. I mean, especially, and I've been involved. You started the company almost 13 years ago. I got involved probably in like year one, year two, somewhere after that. And the more I've kind of dug deep into understanding the church in reference to trying to protect others, is they want, as Christians, right? We want to help people. That's our number one thing. We want to minister. We want to help people. We want to spread the word of Jesus to everyone. And I think what happens is we tend to let our guard down in a sense that, as if we don't have the right mindset, and this is again why we are calling this the sheepdog mindset. If we don't have the right mindset of, we can still be inviting, but we also still need to understand the concepts of protection, the concept of defending ourselves, defending our flocks, until we can gain that trust. And unfortunately, that in the world we live in, trust is a huge deal. And in reference to the church, is we are so quick to kind of just trust everyone. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, but it can also be a hindrance when it comes to being able to protect our flocks.
right.
I think it opens up more avenues for the devil to work his way in if we're not careful about it.
That's definitely true. We have we call it, no matter if you want what you want to call it, a synagogue or a church, or we all call it a house of worship. It's a house. It's a place where we come together to worship, and I equate that to somebody else's home. You live in a house, you live in an apartment, that's your home. We can be inviting and we can be loving in our home, but we also protect it. We would never let somebody walk into our home knowing that they were going to do violence to our loved ones. And going to church is it's a privilege, not an expectation. Of course, we want to be inviting, and we want to invite people who are in distress. We want to invite people in who are lost. That's our job. That's what we're supposed to do. But we have to be able to do that in a safe way. And the protection of people that are in our church, whose responsibility is that? I mean, a lot of people want to put it off on the pastor. They'll want to put it off on the police, the feds, on policy, on the military, on whatever. Ultimately, it comes down to who's going to be there when violence happens, and that's you. You're the one who has to be. You have to put up that first and possibly only line of defense. The officers that we employ and the people that we teach, we're not necessarily first responders. We call them initial responders. They're the ones who are responding before the first responders. And statistically, if they do what they're supposed to do, they're the ones who are going to end that problem before the first responders even arrive. I tell people we're running lights and sirens. We want to get there, but by the time we get there, we're really just bringing crime scene tape. We're here to document what actually has already happened. And we'll talk later about some of the numbers in some other episodes. We'll talk about response times and numbers and things like that, but they are not in our favor. So
Yeah, they're definitely not in our favor, and I think that's, goes back to the beginning of what we talked about. Is just we have such a passion to give the tools and the training and the mindset to those people that are going to be in those incidents. As first responders, or the initial responders is what David referenced to. Like for us, we realized a long time ago that, you know, it's not like that. What's that movie, Minority Report, right? Where the little red ball comes down and we can know when the crime's going to happen before it happens, kind of thing. Well, that's not reality. In reality, we're reactive to things, and by the time we react and are able to get there, 98 to 99% of those incidents are over.
Right.
And why are we not empowering? Why are we not teaching those that are going to be there, those innocents that are going to be there in those instances during those incidents and when they occur, to be able to stop or mitigate, at least the amount of injured or killed by preventing more or stopping whatever the threat may be, or however many it may be.
Right.
I think that for us, it's super important. I know me personally, it's super important to teach those skills to people that maybe that's not their profession.
Right.
They still have the mindset to protect, because and this is what I've probably learned more than anything, and especially being a part of the church. We have a lot of people that we deal with in the church. A lot of doctors, teachers, lawyers, educators, as far as like special education. We have all realms of businessmen and women that come into church, but they have, every one of us, especially if they have a family, every one of us has that certain little spark, as you will, to be able to protect others, because they were willing to protect their families. So if we in turn understand the Christian faith and followers of Jesus, that people are our family. That's the way Jesus designed, how God designed us, is to be in community with others, to be brothers and sisters with each other. That we in turn, if we think that way, we can change that mindset to protecting those that we don't even know.
Right.
And I think that's a huge benefit, and why I push so hard that we can absolutely teach you the skills. The mindset's there. We just have to draw it out.
Right. It's probably a good time to bring up what a sheepdog mindset is. I wear this shirt around people like, hey, can you teach my dog how to heel? No, my dogs pee on the carpet just like yours do. The sheepdog mindset and sheepdog philosophy is a philosophy. It's an old philosophy, but it was brought to me by Lieutenant Colonel Dave Grossman. A lot of you who are going to click on this podcast are going to be familiar with what he does. We have some videos linked up to him as well. But the sheepdog philosophy is that it's both a Christian philosophy and a military philosophy. And it's that there are three types of people in the world. There are sheep, which are common, decent, loving people who do not have the propensity for violence. And when we talk about the other two, the sheepdog and the wolf, we talk about violence being a gift from God. And violence is a gift. If you just ask a kindergartner, is violence a good thing or a bad thing, they're going to say a bad thing. But that's not true. Righteous violence is a good thing. And it's actually the only thing that will beat violence. So we have two different canines. We have the wolf, which will use violence, but they don't have the capacity to love. So they will victimize, they will hurt, and we know who that is. The sociopaths that would come in and do harm to our children are the wolves, and then we have the sheepdog. And the sheepdog is a very unique individual because it's very much like the wolf. They have the canines, they have the propensity for violence, but they also have the capacity to love and do so in such a way that they will protect anyone who needs protection. A mama bear will protect their cubs, but they don't care what's going on in another part of the woods. A sheepdog will lay down their lives for anyone who needs help. They're the ones that will go out there and protect the sheep. So they have the gift of violence and the propensity to love, and that's why we do what we do. So that's what the sheepdog mindset is. And like Nick just said, a lot of you who are going to watch this already have that in you. You just don't have the skill set to go with it. So what we want to do is talk a little bit about the mental skill set, which is very important, as well as some of the physical stuff. Just training is not enough. Practice doesn't make perfect. Perfect practice makes perfect, and we have to train to a level and be at a level where we're constantly vigilantly ready for violence when it comes in that door. And I like to tell my students, when you die on your deathbed and you're sitting there looking back over your life, that's the time to be surprised that you never had to take someone's life, or never had to face a gunman, or you never had to run into a building and pull a kid out. That's the time to be surprised, not when it actually happens.
Yeah, for sure. Like what's this? I'd rather have it and not need it than need it
Right.
and not have it. Having the skill set is super important. And I'd almost go a step ahead. Like, you know, perfection is a thing to strive for. The only perfect being that ever was Jesus, and we know that. But what we can do is absolutely strive for that perfection by having that purposeful training, that purposeful practice, to where that we can strive for that perfection. That's what we're trying to get across our students when we teach is that you should always want more. You should always try to push yourself. You should always try to gain more knowledge, get more training, get more experience, whether it be in scenarios that we do or other optimal training that we may provide that gives you experience, gives you knowledge to help you give a grasp let's just say a bigger dictionary to your book to understand if this happens, this is this is what I need to do. If that happens, this is what I need to do. And I think for us, and having that mindset, it's always a build. Like it's nothing. We're just going to say, hey, you come to our class for one day and we're going to teach you,
Right.
and then you're good, right? This is it's a beginning and it's never ending, and that's for us. Even us as instructors and teachers, we are constantly learning. We learn from our students more than anything, and then seeing other things and how they react and how can we make that better because we've never seen somebody react that way, or we've never seen that done before, and then we can use that or use it as a teaching point. And for us and having that mindset, you have to have the mindset to want more and to learn more to protect others, to protect your family.
Have you ever gone to a training that you felt like you wasted your day?
No, not even close.
Right.
I mean, there's definitely, I've gone through training courses, the same training courses multiple times, and there's always something else that I pick up from it that I didn't see before. And there'll be some courses that maybe, and this goes for everybody out there. And there's a lot of YouTube warriors and a lot of inexperienced instructors out there that teach from just being taught. They don't teach from experience like you and I. They don't teach from actually having to implement what we teach and do what we teach. And so there's a little or no grounding, as you will, for some of that. And some of those, there is probably something said, something done, whether it be a way to do it or maybe a way not to do it, because that's just not something that works for you. And that's okay, but at least that's something. If you look at it that way, you're always going to pick something up.
Right.
You're always going to learn something.
It's always something new. I've been a field trainer. I know you're field training now. And as a trainer for police, I noticed that there's a lot of things rookie officers would come through, and I would teach them certain things, but then I would learn things that a previous trainer had taught them. So you're getting that learning as a teacher, you're getting it as a student, you're getting it as an observer. Like Nick said, you're always looking for new training, you're always looking for new opportunities to get out there and sharpen your mindset and sharpen your skill level. I don't ever feel like now I've gone to some trainings where 90% of it was stuff that I probably would never use, but that 10% that I did pick up, whether it was a bounding technique or a different tactical medicine, a different way to put on a chest seal, was something that I was like, I didn't know that 2 weeks ago, and now I do. So I did not waste my time with that. And I'm a training junkie. I love training. I love learning new things, and I love passing those skills on to others. But like Nick just told you, we go through these classes, and these students will teach us things from their side as well. So that just continues to get better and better, and we want to pass that on.
Yeah, because I mean, there's plenty of students that they don't do what we do as a profession. They don't do what we do or haven't done it as long. That no military, no law enforcement backgrounds, no nothing. But then they bring a different perspective to the table
Right.
and help us create better programs and better scenarios and training to feed into somebody that like them who doesn't know as much or
Right.
doesn't come from a huge like athletic background or doesn't come from a huge knowledgeable tactics or military background. So then we have to kind of take it down a notch or come up with a different kind of solution and adapt to what they're used to or what they're able to do, but something that can still work,
Right.
something that can still work for them. And I think that's a huge deal in being able to, number one, again, going back to the mindset, you have to have the willingness to want to do this. You have to. Now, there's a lot of people who say, "Oh, I'd protect my family," but they don't have the willingness to go further.
Right.
They don't have the willingness to push that and make sure they're prepared for anything and everything.
And I would want to say too, with the warriors that we're creating here, and the mindset of being a sheepdog, I get a question a lot of, I'm this age, or I have this, I can only hear out of my left ear. I have some kind of deformity or something going. Do I have a place in this? And I would say everything right down to the cockroaches in the room have a role. Sometimes your role might be what we would call a front runner, or a front man, or a stinger team, or something along those lines. It might be your job is just to hit your knees and pray. But everybody has a job, and everybody can contribute into a program. And it's not just about who can run the fastest and who can do the most push-ups and who can shoot a bullseye. A lot of it really does come down to, and the reason we name this podcast Mindset is most of the training is actually mental, not physical. The physical is something I can teach a rock how to shoot. I cannot take anyone and guarantee them the ability to pull the trigger when it matters. It's something, now we've both been on the other side of that, so we know that we can do that. But until that day, we did not know that. So that's something that the mental aspect of the training is extremely important, and it's something that's very hard to quantify. Whether or not you've actually succeeded or not, you're never really going to know. I don't know how I'm going to perform on the way home today. I don't know what's going to happen to me. So I want to control the thing that is controllable. The variable about what's going to happen to me, I cannot control that. I may never have another violent confrontation in my life. I might have one today. I don't know. What I can control is my willingness to be ready for that event should it happen. So if you're out there and you're thinking, well, I'm 68 years old and half the time I have to wear readers, and that's fine. That does not mean that you cannot contribute. It doesn't mean you can't train. It doesn't mean you can't be part of the solution. So
Yeah,
just want to get rid of that.
100% agree. For those that are out there that they're because we've run into them. It's like, oh, I want to do this, but I don't think I can. I don't think I can. Well, how do you know until you give it a shot? How do you know until you try? And if you have the mindset there that you want to, we've had plenty of people that have come through that maybe they're not the most physical fit, maybe they're not the most, the how do you say sharpest tool in the box, in the toolbox. I'm not trying to offend anybody, but there's always a job.
Right.
There's always something you can do. It's never like I'm useless, I'm nothing. No, God created us to be in community and to help each other. Certain people are meant for certain things. And if you don't try to find what that thing is, you'll never know. And we've had plenty of people that have come in that, they try it and then they're just not, they just don't have certain abilities to qualify them as security officers or guards for the security company, but they absolutely have the correct mindset in order to find another spot to help with. We've had plenty of people,
Oh yeah,
and they fit in. They fit in like a glove. They fit into what it is our ultimate or our overall goal is for this security.
Right. We have people who will come through, so we do a psychological evaluation as part of our process. And the doctor that we use will speak openly with us about where the strengths and weaknesses are. And we like to think of putting the right people in the right seats at the right times. For instance, we have one, and I won't mention that person, we both know it is, that is not doing as well with the tactical stuff, but is an incredible organizer and incredible at basically being a dispatch, and has made that team so much stronger because the gift that God gave that person, they decided they needed to use that gift and not the one that the society had deemed that they need to use.
Right.
When I was a kid, I wanted to be a cop, but I went and did everything else before I finally landed back where I wanted to be. And I think that if you have a gift for something and God wants you to use that gift and you don't, that's just like throwing a gift away. You don't want to throw away God's gifts. So whatever it is that you can contribute, sometimes it's that you're a marksman, sometimes that you're a tactical leader, sometimes you're just a good organizer, sometimes you're a trainer. Whatever your skill set is, you need to identify that skill set and you need to use that to help a program in your church. And it really just comes down to your mindset again. SWAT officers are not all yoked up 26-year-old guys anymore. They're just smart. They know what to do. They know when to do what they're going to do. We like to say, what's driving you? That's in everything. Like what drove me to get up this morning was what I needed to do. What drove me to get my first cup of coffee is I needed to wake up. What's driving you is going to be based on your skill, on what God gave you as a gift and how you're going to use it to contribute. So everybody has a role here. We just don't necessarily know what that role is yet.
Yeah, and for sure, with this program and what we are trying to accomplish, and even with this podcast, is to get some of those dormant sheepdog mindset people out there to start stepping up.
Right.
What we've seen lately is a lot of people just not knowing what to do, and kind of just living day to day and just going about their daily business. And when they could use something that they have that God gave them in order to help protect. I mean, if anything, and I definitely don't want to get off in the weeds. I mean, there's plenty of episodes that we're coming up that we're going to talk a lot about different things. This is just kind of the intro on what we do, but we should all know what's going on around the country, and especially when it comes to the Christian faith, or faith in general, and believing in God, and the interpretation of that being so conflicting and construed in different aspects of religion that, even here, especially in the U.S., it's tearing people apart. And for us to get back to the roots of understanding what our purpose was in the reference to Jesus and God and what they wanted us to do and what it wanted us to be and be like Jesus, helping one another, helping your neighbor, treating others as if you would want to be treated, and having that protective mindset, that sheepdog mindset to do exactly that, but also have a plan.
Right.
Have a plan and be ready for when the day comes that evil shows his face. That is our purpose. That is our goal. We absolutely love everybody we've ever come in contact with, including those that we've had to say, that this is just not for you right now.
Right.
Maybe something's going on and maybe this is your wake-up call. And God put us in your path for a reason. And then we've had plenty of people who had no idea what their skill set or what their level of commitment could be until they started the program.
Right.
And now there's, we have people that are some of the best, guards, best protectors, best Christian people and friends come out of this, of these relationships built on this mindset and teaching this mindset and teaching what it's like to be a Christian, what it's like to be a Christian protector of the flock.
Right. So I would kind of close up by saying we're happy to be able to do this. As we're just sitting here, none of this was scripted. We're just going off the cuff. A whole lot of topics are coming to mind, like spiritual warfare and was Jesus a warrior and those types of things that we'd love to talk about. And I don't mind, and we haven't talked about this. I'm going to share my email in case anybody wants to send over, hey, we'd like to hear you talk about this, or we're actually going to have later, we're going to have some guests come on, do some Zoom calls and things like that. We've gotten to rub some shoulders with some pretty important people in this industry. We're going to be doing some different things going forward. So I'd like to hear back from some of you as to things that you would like to see. So if you want to reach out to me directly, my email is David, David, at sheepdogdefensegroup.com. And I don't know if you'd like to share yours as well.
Yeah, same, Nick at sheepdogdefensegroup.com. I also have my other company, Nick, at sdpacktraining.com. That's the other company that kind of supplements some of the stuff that we do with Sheepdog Defense Group. But also, we're still new at this, so we're still
Right.
trying to build, and hopefully we can start getting stuff on YouTube and try to get some of this information out. Some will be restricted depending on if we got to vet certain things that we teach or talk about. But again, we are open to sharing anything and everything with anybody that has that mindset or that willingness to have the mindset to protect their flocks, to protect others, their families, their churches, their schools, whatever the case may be, anybody and everybody, because the ultimate goal is we have to be ready for evil. And evil is there. Evil's shown its face many times before. It's going to continue to show its face. And if anybody's paying attention to anything around the world, it may get worse before it gets better. And we have to prepare. We have to get ready. We have to be ready. 100%.
All right. Well, thank you for listening in and viewing in. We'll see you soon.
Yep. This is Sheepdog Mindset, episode 1. And, keep tuning in. Keep us up to date with what you'd like to hear, what you'd like to see. And again, keep training, keep fighting, keep working, stay safe.